guys, Mark here. Welcome back to the channel. So finally, Erik and I were able to get together and put this interview together, and it was friggin' awesome. Super excited about that. But I am going to apologize in advance to Erik and to you on the quality of the recording was really bad. A couple reasons. I just honestly don't know how to do it. I edit these on my phone, so I mean, I could record the Zoom meeting on my laptop, and then I don't know how to send it to my phone, and I'm pretty literate that way. So anyways, to make a long story short, the quality isn't very good. But I don't think in a case like this with an interview, you're really, I know I wouldn't be anyways. I wouldn't be super concerned about the quality. I just want to hear what it has to say. And Erik was awesome because he like really opens up about his racing. He opens up about his accident. He opens up about performance. I think he talks performance numbers of that boat, which is the first time ever publicly that he spoke of that, which I think is super cool. He discusses the weight and everything. It was really awesome. But again, back to the quality, man, I had a bad internet connection that just for some reason, I don't know why we couldn't put it together, but it glitched out. You're going to see it come up on the screen. And my daggone cat, I don't know what she was thinking. She wouldn't leave me alone. She's climbing around the back of my head. And anyways, it was a mess. But the interview was awesome. It's long. It's an hour long. But man, honestly, doing the interview, we felt like it was 10 minutes. It's just so cool. There's just so much cool information. So bear with me. I apologize for the quality. I thank you for chiming in and watching. I think you're going to enjoy it. Please watch it to the end because it's really good. And, mention in the comments, put your comments out there on things that I can do better and try and, do a better job of this stuff. So Erik, please, if you will, share with us what got you started in outboard drag boat racing.
But that's where it started. Me going to races when I was 8 years old and watching my dad race and then, and just being around it. And I fished on growing up, but, my brother and I quickly figured out that we liked the boat ride probably a little more than we did the fishing.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how it started. And I got into the street racing scene a little bit back in the 90s, nowhere near like kind of stuff you did. And after getting a drag racing ticket, I said, hey, I can't do anything on the street anymore. And I always, the boat thing never left me. I was going to boat races in the 90s and the mid 90s. And so that's kind of how it started. And as I got a little older and was able to, my income got better and allowed me to, to finally kind of do it. About the 2009 point is when I kind of started with 08, 09, start with an Allison, with my Allison XR 2002.
Sure. And what class was that, Erik? Or were the classes a little different?
That was Outlaw. That was out. I bailed off right into Outlaw, which is pro drag.
Yeah.
And the reason is I always wanted a 12-inch midsection.
Yeah.
And and that was the only two classes I could race with a 12-inch midsection was Pro Gas and Outlaw. Well, Pro Gas was quarter mile then, and I didn't want to race quarter mile.
Sure. Yeah.
So that put me into Outlaw, and racing the likes of Matthew Caldwell.
And was it Outlaw 800 feet then?
It was 660. I was racing in DSRA mostly.
Yeah.
And it was 660.
Gotcha.
My first race was kind of eye-opening. The boat ran good, had an basically stock 05 drag on it, but then I lined up next to that carbon fiber boat driven by Matthew Caldwell, and I figured out real quick what a fast boat was.
Well, I think we all could tell that story, for sure. So,
but it was fun. It was fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. So that was an Allison XR 2002 to start. And then you went to a drag after that. I believe you had or was there a bunch of boats? I remember the white drag.
Yeah, I raced. Yeah. No, there was not a bunch. I did the white and blue XR 2002.
Yeah.
Raced 2 or 3 races with that. And then struck a deal to get the white 2005 model XR 2001. I got that in April of 11.
Okay.
And April of 2011, and I started racing that boat.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay. That's the one I remember. I mean, I wasn't around then, but I saw the pictures. So Pro Drag pretty much right from the go. Allison's, Allison's to start. And now if we can go back to, I think did you run like a Caldwell motor combination or something at that time? Or was that your own doing?
Not that came later. That came in the beginning of the 15 season in the Quartermaster.
Gotcha.
15 or 15, I think.
Okay, and then that leads me to this question: what was behind the switch to the Quartermaster at that time? Was it just kind of like pushing the boundaries of the V bottom at those speeds, or was it?
That's right. I got rid of that Allison, and after the 13 season, early in 14, January, February 14. At that point, the class had gotten quick enough that although my fiberglass Allison was a very light boat as far as fiberglass boats weighed, I think I weighed 1,084 with me in the boat, no fuel.
Yeah.
It wasn't light enough. I could see the direction the class was going.
Yeah.
I could also see that as the class progressed, the V-bottom boat was going to be a little more difficult to make work.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying you can't do it, and those Aaron Campbell, Brett Hamilton, Trey Taylor were able to field an Allison, sub 1,000 pound Allison, but they ran into some problems with it. I think they saw it, but yeah, that's partially what led to the switch to the Quartermaster.
Okay.
I was able to get a super light boat that I knew would handle the power.
Mm-hmm. 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 And so back to the Quartermaster then. So the Quartermaster came out in 2015. Oh, hang on here 1 sec. I'm blipping again.
I came out with that late in 14.
Late in 14.
I bought that boat 4th of July week. Yeah, 4th of July week in 14. Taylor Crabtree and I rode down to Winter Haven, picked the boat up. I brought it home, rigged it, took it to the first race, Mitch Ludwig's race in Farmerville.
Yeah.
Late in the 14 season.
Gotcha. And can you describe the beginning, like the first thoughts on that boat at switching at that speed? Were you immediately, wow, this is going to be awesome, or was it like, I don't like this, or was there a feeling of safeness to it? Like what was your initial take?
But I remember it very well. We were first time off the trailer was at Mitch Ludwig's place. Matter of fact, very first place off the trailer, and we'll get to this later, was also the last place off the trailer. Identical spot. I took it off the trailer and I putted around a little bit, with it, and I hit the gas a couple times, brought it back to the trailer, and if I remember correctly, I told those guys, I said, I think we went too far. That boat was exactly 200 pounds on the water lighter than my Allison.
Wow.
I weighed it at the first race I took it to, and the boat with me in it weighed 884 pounds. It was 200 pounds on the nose. And
that's awesome.
So to answer your question, my first thoughts on it were, I think we went too far. This is too fast. The difference was between 1084 and 884 was exponential.
Is that right?
I mean, it was, at the time, it was I remember I put a 24 pitch prop. I always ran a 178 gear case. I put a 24 pitch prop on it to do my little, get used to it run.
Yeah.
And I brought it in, said, I think we went too far. Let's take the 24 off and put a 22 on, because this thing goes too fast, too quick. I didn't want to go that fast.
Yeah, man, isn't that something?
So it was eye-opening.
Yeah,
it was crazily eye-opening.
Yeah. And that
it took me a little bit used to.
That progressed quite quickly. So you got into a Caldwell deal. I remember, I shouldn't say deal, but you had a Caldwell motor. I remember the boat.
Yeah, Matthew and I worked together a little bit.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. And then, and I'm going to probably mess this up, so mind me if I do. The first DBR motor, the Dave Bush motor, was a methanol mercury. Is that correct?
That's methanol, nitromethane.
Okay. I didn't know. I knew there was nitromethane in there. I didn't know if that came into the mix a little bit later on.
Yeah,
so.
that was right off the bat, and you know, and I could tell you. So to lead up to that, Matthew and I worked together in 15. He needed a test bed of sorts for his billet engine.
Sure. Yeah.
Pro Drag Outlaw was the only class he could run them in. So Matthew and I had a good relationship. He helped me initially when I first went to methanol, and good guy. But so we did that in the 15 season. I ran a race or two. I can't remember if it was 2 races with billet engines. Some of the first ones, and then after that, he was wanting to make some tweaks to the billet, and I ended up running one of his 280s on and off the remainder of the season. I raced the 16 season on my own power, and what actually prompted the move to Dave, as you well know, Dave is an icon of the sport.
100%, yeah.
And I raced against Dave in 2016 in Jasper. He had his hydro there. That was my first really time meeting him. We spoke there and got on well. And the 17 came along, and what prompted it was someone told me that Mercury had changed the stators in LA. And I was a tech guy, although my income wouldn't allow as much as I would have wanted. I like the technical part of it. I love studying data.
Sure.
And so I called Dave. I said, "Hey, I decided I'm not going to mess with this Mercury stuff anymore." I called Dave out of the blue. Said, "Hey, what if I wanted to get away from this Mercury stuff and run some of the stuff you work with?" Mm-hmm. And he immediately was on board, 100%. Loved the idea.
Yeah.
So that's what started that deal. He was passing through my town, you know, within a month or so. I can't remember exactly. On his way home from a photo shoot that where he films for Yamaha.
Yep.
So he stopped here, picked up all my stuff. He picked up my power head, my ECU, all the way down to the vacuum pump that I ran in my boat, and took it home to dyno it to get us a baseline. The engine made good power. He said my map was good. It needed some tweaking here and there, but all in all good. I flew out there shortly thereafter, spent a solid week out there with Dave on the dyno, building the initial M-Tron maps. We didn't have a Mercury 2.5 map to start with. No one had ran one with M-Tron. Mm-hmm. So how we did that, I went into my AIM data, used the pulse width data from the AIM at different RPMs and loads. We were able to plug that into the M-Tron to build a base fat and happy map that we didn't think we would do this thing.
Yeah.
And that's how we started literally from scratch.
Wow.
And, it initially was going to be methanol, but we're brainstorming. We're knocking out, ideas off each other. It was my idea to spray nitromethane. Dave took it to a whole nother level with the injectors. Yeah. I remember the conversation well. We were sitting in the dyno room, and I said, "Hey, I've heard all these stories about guys accidentally mixing too much nitro, and these engines rip for like a couple seconds before they, just go nuclear. What if we used a nitrous solenoid to spray a little burst of nitromethane in intake at initial throttle on to give it that little nitro burst and then, just phase it out?" And he said, "I like the idea." And then he just took it and ran with it. And, before you know it, we have 12 injectors and the injectors on the side of the block. So
that's awesome.
My idea, it was my idea to do the nitro initially, but he's the one that took it and made it what it was.
Wow, that's I can only imagine the week. You went in there a super knowledgeable guy, obviously, but what that week must have been like, between the two of you bouncing ideas back and forth, and it would be cool to be a fly on the wall.
It was killer.
Yeah,
it was killer. Yeah. It was so much work. I really finally realized spending a week out there at Havasu how much work doing that dyno stuff is.
Yeah.
We got up and we were in the dyno room by 8 a.m. and we were there till 6 p.m. and it was wide open the whole time.
Yeah.
There's just so much work involved with it. But man, it was just so killer. It was one of the more fun things. Definitely one of the more fun things that I've ever done in racing.
Yeah, that's super cool. That's super cool. So that was 2016. Then you came out with that package, or was that 20?
Yeah, that was early 17. Most of the 17 season, I sat out of racing because all my stuff was out there at Havasu.
Yeah, you were working on it. So where did that?
Yeah, they was calling me with a new idea every day that cost another $500.
So what was the first race with that motor combo?
It was Jasper, 2017.
It was Jasper, eh? Yeah, and
it was Jasper. Yeah,
and you won.
It was Jasper, 2017.
Yeah.
We had a rough outing on Saturday. Couldn't get it to run. Turns out it was quite lean. And then 17. On Sunday, we kind of figured it out, and the thing just ripped on Sunday.
Was 17 the year it was really rough too?
No, that was 16.
That was 16. Okay, gotcha.
That was 16. I remember that very well. Yeah. I raced that Saturday. It was super rough. Greg Scott outran me the first pass. My boat fell in a hole you could have buried a super tanker in, right out of the hole.
Yeah.
And then second pass, I raced Trey Taylor. I remember Pete told me after my first pass, because Greg Scott, to his credit, stayed in the gas that day. Pete told me on the radio, he said, "Hey, whoever stays in the gas the longest is going to win these races."
Yeah.
So on my second pass on that really rough day, I was determined to stay in the gas.
Yeah.
So I was able to get by Trey Taylor, but I hit a roller or wave down there that tossed me around, and I ended up crossing the finish line in his lane.
Oh, man.
So gave me my second loss. On Sunday that day, I scratched. But to answer your question, that was 16. I sat out the whole 17 season working with Dave. First race was Jasper. And I remember in all this swapping around I did that 17 season with Dave, I had switched over from AIM Dash to Motec. I didn't know the correlation in ETs. We had tested there. We had trouble there Wednesday. I had a 280 shipped there from U.S. Chrome. Got there on Wednesday. I assembled it Wednesday afternoon on the tailgate of my truck. Put it on Thursday. Plating fell out of it, almost immediately.
Wow.
So we've been able to do a little testing. And as people start showing up, they see the new combination. They knew Dave and I had been working together. They're asking me, "Erik, is the boat fast?" And I said, I honestly don't know, because I don't know how this data from AIM to Motec correlates.
Sure.
I feel like it's fast, but I can't honestly say. And Saturday I go out, the thing won't leave the line. And so we thrashed on it Saturday. Sunday, as I'm easing up off the trailer, up the track at Jasper, I'm trying to ease into the throttle, just to ease it on plane.
Yeah.
And the thing, I can tell it's just lean as can be. You can barely get on plane.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a couple knobs on the dash, a global enrichment knob and a bottom end enrichment knob. I took both the knobs and cranked them both as fat as they would go. And that's how I raced. Once we kind of figured that out. And if I would just hit the throttle, go all the way to 100%, it would go. It was that transitory, that transition.
Sure.
Was lean.
Yeah.
So the thing ripped on Sunday.
Yeah.
It was fun.
And
it was fun.
You won Sunday, then I take it?
Yeah, I won Sunday. I won Sunday pretty handily.
Yeah. I think I've seen some videos. Zach's got some videos on his phone he showed me. I can't remember what the dates are, but
my first pass Sunday, and as I told you, I honestly didn't know how fast the boat was. Mm-hmm. I raced Graham Murray on my first pass, and I just, I hammered it, didn't look over. I knew I lost sight of him pretty quick. Didn't look over, ran it to the end of the track, looked over when I backed out at the finish line, and Graham was back there pretty good ways.
Yeah.
I thought, okay, he lifted. He had some issue or something. Second pass was against Jack, and kind of the same thing. And now it's starting to dawn on me, holy crap, this thing might actually be fast.
That's
and
awesome.
So I had a couple more and ended up racing Casey Weaver for the final.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Or not Casey Weaver, Casey McClellan. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And did you end up knocking the rods or anything out of it with the nitro, or were you able to keep it all together?
We kept it all together.
Yeah, awesome.
Running it very conservatively.
Sure.
There was still a lot in that package, but I had the 280 that I'd had the plating come out of it twice, and then I had a really good drag engine.
Mm-hmm.
So really what we needed, I would have liked to have had some, just ported cut 260 kind of something you didn't, if it blew up the sides out of it, it wouldn't be the end of the world.
Yeah.
That's really what we needed to get the most out of that. But we didn't want to blow up one of our good engines.
Of course, sure.
So we ran that thing very conservative. People would die. I mean, still to this day, it's not common knowledge how much compression I ran.
Yeah.
But now's as good a time as any. I ran 150 pounds compression on that.
Is that right, eh? Yeah.
In Jasper.
On fuel,
150.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, and our timing was conservative, and we were just dumping methanol on top of the nitro, just to make sure we didn't grenade the thing.
Of course, yeah.
So there was a lot left there.
Yeah, that's super cool. That's super cool. So 2017 you win Jasper. Did you race after that in 2017, or was that season over for you then?
No, that was season's over there. In 2018, I think I don't remember exactly why, but maybe we were working on some more stuff. I raced Farmerville. I raced one race with the Mercury.
Yeah.
And Dave Pugh was there. Graham Murray was there. And Tyler Whitehead was there. And Tyler and I ended up kind of battling it out Saturday and Sunday. And I came away with the win on both days that day with that same combination. We had tweaked it a little bit by the end, and we moved a little bit of power around from Saturday to Sunday and added some power in the mid-range on Sunday. And it was fun playing with that combination.
Sure.
The ability, that's something that you normally don't have in outboard drag boats, is the ability to move power, or kind of like the drag racing guys that you hear and so well, can add power in areas, or let's take away power here. The addition of the nitromethane on their own and its own injectors allowed us that ability.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And so that was super fun playing.
That was a
with
game
that.
changer. Yeah. So now, had Dave been? So where did the OMC talk come? Did Dave put that in your ear? Was that something you wanted to do? Was that something you guys were talking about while you were racing?
No, that was Dave. That was a culmination. Myself, Dave, and Pete Elliott. Mm-hmm. And, and through all of what we were talking about, starting back, Pete and I started working back together in probably 2013, I think. Pete was just a huge part of this.
Yeah.
Huge part of it. And so we talked about it. Pete was working on an OMC, was going to do the OMC on his STV. Mm-hmm. And for whatever reason, we decided there wasn't enough time to put it on the STV for Pro Mod. And they said, hey, let's put it on Erik's boat. And I said, okay. Because I really had always wanted to do an OMC.
Yeah.
This goes back to when I had the Allison.
Sure.
They're killer engines. And I contacted AC String, or I had a buddy, I had Jacob Crabb contact AC Stringfield. This is back in 2012, I think. AC had a pretty good stock of 12-inch OMCs to ask him if he would sell me one. He wouldn't, so I just kind of dropped it there. I couldn't afford Gordon Montague, and Dave was out in Havasu, kind of out of sight, out of mind out there. So I'd always wanted to do the OMC thing, and this was my chance to at least go to one race with it before we took it off. I put the Mercury back on, and Pete took over the OMC stuff from there.
Gotcha.
So that's how that happened.
That's how that happened. So, okay, so we're going to go back 2018 then. 2018 you raced with the Mercury, and then when did you come out with the DBR or the Dave Bush OMC? Was that late 2018? I know you didn't get to race it, and we're going to get to that. But when did you guys start testing it on that boat?
It was the weekend before Jasper.
Yeah.
October 6th and the 7th, I think it was. That was the first time out with the OMC. So I'd raced the Farmerville race with my Mercury.
Yeah.
And I don't remember the date of that race, maybe, let's say July, or it may have been an August race. So I don't remember exactly. We took all the Mercury stuff off. Mm-hmm. At that point, after that race, we took all the Mercury stuff off and started this transition. Had to get Geiger to make an extra a piece, to put the 12-inch can onto the Geiger clamp.
Sure, yeah.
So that's where it started. First trip out was October the 6th. Oh, I think it was a Saturday. I flipped the boat on Sunday. I think it was October 6th, the weekend before. It was the very first trip out with the OMC. And we had some, it's normal issues, you have when you throw a whole new combination onto a boat. Mm-hmm. We had trouble getting it to leave. It was just so fat. And so we kind of just in and out of the water on Saturday, back and forth, in and out of the water on Saturday, and trying to get this thing running. Finally kind of got it running Sunday. And, lesson learned.